make you?
Okay. Yeah, when you asked me, I was like, oh gosh, like I learned all my leadership from you or from books. So I'm like, okay, well, if Kelsey's not on tonight, I guess I'm gonna pull out a book and I'm gonna just kind of pour into you guys with some of the stuff that I'm reading and kind of learning and getting inspired from. But I kind of just wanted, this was kind of on my heart to share with you guys, the beginning of this month. So I kind of made that decision, the push for ambassador. Okay. And going into this month, I knew that I needed around like 70,000 volume. And you hear that amount and it's like, holy cow, that's a big amount of volume to like be pushing for and to, be leading with every day, knowing that that's what you need for your promotion. And I just kind of wanted to pour into you guys and let you know like what me and my team are doing that has really just lit the fire. And if you're a VIP on here, you've probably seen this in the Lifers page. If you guys don't know what that is, when you go triple and above, you get added to this VIP Lifer page. And there's lots of good just like training and stuff in it. But me and my team, I pretty much made this board and I'll show you guys. I got this idea from an Ambassador Diamond, but I made a thermometer, okay? And I have 250,000 GB at the top. And then at the bottom, I put like where we started with volume wise on April 10th. So I had 51,000 in the system. And so on the 15th, which is today, we have, I think, close to 80,000 right now. And so every day I'm just kind of updating this board until we get to 250. That way my team knows like how close we are. And I think just like having that goal and like showing people like, hey, this is what we're pushing for. And like, this is a team effort. Like this cannot be done alone. Like we have to work together as a team to make this huge goal happen. I think that has really just brought people's attention to the fact that, okay, if she's pushing for 70K, I can push for 3,000 to go diamond. And I've had tons of people that were just like, oh my gosh, I only need 5,000 for this promotion, or I only need, 2,000 for this promotion, and I'm going to make it happen. And so, I encourage you guys to figure out like how far away you are from your goal and create some type of image and just be loud and proud about it with your team. If you have a team chat, and just kind of updating that and just letting them know that it is a team effort. I mean, honestly, like double diamond and above, like you cannot go on your own. Like it is a team effort. And I think just loving on your team and letting them know, have that vulnerable moment and being like, look, I can't get here. I can't get you guys to the next level. I can't get myself to the next level without everyone together. Like this has to work together. So I totally love that idea. And it's just really brought momentum on my team. And every day we're like, okay, let's get this GB amount in the system to 81,000. Like that's our goal today. And if we hit 81,000, I'm doing some like mini giveaways, like cash giveaways and whatnot. But that's been like the excitement on my team. And like the biggest thing, you guys, like if you are pushing for promotion this month and maybe you are super far, stop waiting. Like stop waiting. I remember like when I was going from double to triple, I feel like so much of the reason why it took me a year to go from double to triple is because I was constantly waiting and pulling the lower 20% of my distributors on my team, the people that were negative, the people that weren't returning my phone calls. I was spending way too much time pouring into those low 20% of my team instead of focusing on my top 20% of like top recruiters on my team. So like when you look at your team, you have your top 20. So those are the people that are enrolling, the people that are your leaders, people that are hungry, people that are pushing, people that are answering questions. Those are your people. Okay. Then you have 60%. Those are the people that are kind of in the middle. They're not at the top 20 yet, but they're still in that limbo of like, okay, can I get to top 20 or am I going to fall under and quit? Like that's 60% of your team. And so spend your time focusing on the top 20%, the people that are enrolling, and feed into their energy. Do not spend time waiting for those people that are at the bottom of the business that aren't returning your phone calls and aren't hungry and don't want it, because they will suck the energy out of you. And I truly believe that is why it took me so long to promote, was because all of my energy and focus was focused on people that didn't want it as bad as I did. And when I shifted my focus to my leaders and to the people that were hungry and wanted promotion just as bad as me, we were able to collaborate together and just get to the top and promote. So that's like one of my number one like tips. Stop waiting for those people that aren't doing anything on your team to start doing something, because they probably won't. And
okay,
the number one way.
This is really creepy. Okay.
What?
Okay. Aaron sent me this leadership. It's devotional. It's so good. Okay. If I recommend it to anybody, it's Leadership Promises for Every Day by John Maxwell. One of the things that I have bookmarked, okay, 70K list. And it says, modeling leadership is caught more than taught. So this is the first thing you were talking about, right? So, commitment precedes resources, which is you talking about, hey, I need 70K, but I'm committing to this goal, and it's preceding, my commitment is preceding the resources that I need for it, right? So what he says is everybody needs financial and human resources to reach his or her goal. Commitment should always precede these resources. When a leader demonstrates a commitment to the mission and the goals of the organization, then God moves and a whole stream of events begin to flow. In the very first chapter of the book that bears her name, Ruth, in the Bible, chooses to stay with Naomi, her mother-in-law, even after she loses her husband. She didn't know it, but her commitment would lead to all kinds of open doors. Ruth finds work during a difficult time. Eventually, she gains a new husband. And most impressively, God includes her into the family of Israel. The key, commitment. Once a leader definitely commits, God moves, and all manner of unforeseen incidents, meetings, persons, and material assistance begin to stream forth. Okay, first off, that's creepy because you talked about that. Now this is where it gets really creepy, okay? 2 days later, it says, spend time with your best. The Pareto rule. Write this down. It's Pareto, okay? Pareto. It's the Pareto principle. 20% of your priorities will give you 80% of your production. 20% of your priorities will give you 80% of your production. If you spend your time, energy, money, and personnel on the top 20% of your priorities, every leader needs to understand this rule in the area of people oversight and leadership. For example, 20% of the people in an organization will be responsible for the 80% of the company's success. Okay. Determine which people are the top 20% producers. Spend 80% of your time with the top 20%. Okay. How creepy is that? Okay. I was literally...
What book is that? What is it called?
What?
What book is that called?
Oh, it's a leadership devotional. So it's Leadership by John Maxwell. It's just a promises for every day. I'll send it to you guys in there.
Yeah, do that. That sounds freaking bomb.
But dude, I was literally like, bro, she's talking about two of these things that I literally just read about. This is creepy. Okay, go ahead.
Well, carrying on from that, I mean, you guys, your team needs to see you go after your goals. Like that is the number one way to get the people at the bottom 20% of your organization to start going to the top of that 60%, is because if they're inspired by what you're doing and what you're producing and what you're putting out there, like you can't make them want it. You can't make them be hungry, but you can inspire them and pull that out of them. And if you're going after your goals and you are so transparent with your team of where you're going, that is going to get some of those people in the low 20% of your organization go to that 60% and even to the top 20. So coming into this month, I was kind of just like evaluating, like, what can I do differently to have massive action in my organization? And I just was like, okay, I have to produce different results. I have to, evaluate what was I doing last month and what can I do differently this month to make things better, to make things more elite. And, I decided, okay, first I have to commit to that goal. I have to put it out there. I have to tell my team, and then I just have to create massive action. Okay. Dreams plus action equals massive action and massive results. And so I've been trying to double everything that I am doing. So I'm not just following 200 people on Instagram every day. I'm following 400 people on Instagram every day. I'm not just messaging 100 people because that's what's on our to-do list. I'm messaging 150 to 200 people every day. So I'm just doubling my efforts because I know that this month it takes so much more from me. And I know that I can do more. Yes, it's going to be a little bit more exhausting. Yes, it's going to be more time. But I know that if I want to get better results, it's literally a math ratio. You just have to do more of what you're doing. So I encourage you guys to really evaluate, like, are you getting the results that you want with your enrollments? Are you getting the results that you want with your newbies? If not, change what you're doing. Change is so important with leadership. Change is important in this business. It's constantly changing what we're doing if whatever you're doing is not working and isn't sufficient enough to meet your results that you want. So I kind of wanted to just touch on this book because I've been reading it and I'm just like, this is just too good not to share. I know some of you guys got this from Alyssa Bilyeu. If you were in the top like 20 enroller or whatever it was, we got this book from John Maxwell. It's called Becoming a Person of Influence. I've absolutely adored reading this book, and I just wanted to share some of like my nuggets that I've really taken away from it. So, and I felt like this was kind of fitting for our leadership Zoom. So the title is How to Empower Others to Their Potential. So your goal should be to hand over relatively small, simple tasks in the beginning and progressively increase their responsibilities and authority as you're building emerging leaders. Like, right, you're finding those people that are in those ruby spots that are going to be those upcoming leaders that are going to be your emeralds, that are going to be your diamonds. And you're like, okay, where do I start to empower them? And how do I get them in that leadership role without overwhelming the crap out of them, right? So here's just a couple like tidbits of what you can do to really help empower them. So the first one is you want to evaluate them. Remember that all people have the potential to succeed. Your job is to see the potential, find out what they lack to develop it, and equip them with what they need. So a couple of things that you can do is, think about the people, think about what people need to know in order to do the task that you intend to give them. Don't take for granted that they know all that you know. Ask them questions. Cast a vision by giving them the big picture of how their actions fit into the organization's mission and goals. Knowledge is not only power, it's empowering. Another thing is no amount of skill, knowledge, or potential can help people succeed if they don't have the desire to be successful. So when you're talking with your rubies and your people that are in those emerald positions, asking them questions. I mean, asking questions is good. It's the number one way to like let them take control of the conversation, then to also find out what they know. It is so like, it's hard on us to just assume that they know what we know, because a lot of times they don't know what we know. And we have to ask valuable questions to get that result back, to know, to meet them where they are, essentially. Number two, another way to empower people is to model for them. Even people with knowledge, skill, and desire need to know what's expected of them. And the best way to inform them is to show them. So leading from the front. I mean, you've heard this a million times. Like, you can't expect your team to do what you're not doing. So make sure you're leading from the front. If you're enrolling people, show them how you're enrolling people. Show them your conversations, what that looks like. Show them, what your daily to-do list looks like, because people want to see what we're doing. The people you desire to empower need to see what it looks like to fly. So as your mentor, you have the best opportunity to show them. Model the attitude and work ethic you would like them to embrace. And anytime you can include them in your work, take them along with you. I mean, everyone knows that. Like, you're going to have a more productive time with training newbies if you are making them do the work with you, and you can physically see that they're applying what you're telling them to do, because it's impossible to just tell people a million things of what to do and just thinking that they're going to get it all, because they don't. So making sure you're being very intentional with your newbies, with your leaders, and showing them what you want them to be doing. The third thing is give them permission to succeed. So this is something that I feel like I've always struggled with up until this last year. I feel like if it was easier to get things done, I just did it myself instead of delegating to my leaders and, asking for, people to put their piece of the puzzle into the puzzle. I just did it all myself. I'm like, I'm just going to put this whole puzzle together by myself. I have all the pieces, and I wasn't using the resources that I had within my organization. And you have to step back and let people step up as leaders, and let people step up on their own success level. So it is important to remember that if you don't have the inspired enthusiasm, that is contagious. Whatever you do have is also contagious. So that stuck with me, because I know that every day, this is something I've been praying to God about, because I want to be a leader that when people talk to me or talk about me, they think of me as someone who has high energy. That's something that I've always just lacked. It's just something that I've had to really work on in the past year. And I ask God every day, give me high energy. I am a high energy person. And I say that in my self-development every single morning. And what you what you think about is going to be contagious on your team. And so if you're someone who's thinking about all the negative things and you're so fixated on what's not going right and you're fixated on all these problems and you're like, oh, another person came to me with a problem, like, no, you cannot have that mindset as a leader. And you have to know that whatever you're focusing on is going to expand. Like, literally, it's going to expand. So make sure that your actions within your team, especially your conversations with your team members, are just, you have to watch what you say, because you don't want to spread negativity. You don't want to talk badly about other people within your organization. That is like the number one no-no I've had to learn for myself. But just be very intentional with your thoughts and your words, especially with your leaders and your organization. If you need a sideline that you need to go vent to, go find that sideline. And that's something else, you guys. When I was pushing for Prez and really Triple, I was like, I love my leaders, I love my team, but I had to connect with someone who was on a higher level. Like, yes, I talked to Kelsey. Yes, I got great, feedback from Kelsey, but I wanted to also expand my circle with people that were making more money than me, people that were already more successful than me, because I knew that there was nuggets and just like fire that I could get from them. And so I totally encourage you guys to expand your circle. Like, expand your circle, start talking to a presidential. If you're a Triple going for Prez, go hang out with a presidential for a couple of days and see what that life's about. Talk to them, pick their brain, like hang out and be with people that make more money than you, because you will learn so many valuable things along the way, and it'll literally put you in like a different level. Like, you'll like literally like level up your life. I don't even know where I was going with that, but
Can you repeat the like quote about the contagious, like whatever you have will be contagious? What did it say?
It says, the important thing to remember is that if you don't have that inspired enthusiasm that is contagious, whatever you do have is also contagious. People can sense your underlying attitude no matter what you say or do. If you have an expectation for your people to be successful, they will know it. I like love that. Like, I know everyone on my team, like, I'm like, you're going Ruby, you're going Diamond, you're going Double, like, you're promoting. Like, and you just have to have that expectation, like set that expectation. Don't just be like, oh yeah, life is slowing down and I understand. Like, no, you have to be that person that pushes your team outside their comfort zone. You can't, sometimes it's hard to have those conversations with people and be like, I'm going to come down here because I know this is where you're at, but they need you to be up here 100% of the time. And they need you to be up here. Like, I'm not even getting into it, but I have a girl who is going through a lot right now. And, she was kind of like falling off the horse on the struggle bus. And I literally just called her and I said, look, Ruby is your goal. You are so close to Emerald. Like, you cannot let this one situation bog you down and keep you from where you're going. So make sure that, like, if you have someone that is, going through life, like life just happens to everyone, but make sure that you're always that leader that is always setting that bar way up here. No matter, even if their mind is down here, they need you to always be up here. Because it's easy to revert back and be like, oh yeah, you're right. Like, this is just not your time. This is just not your month. You've got a lot going on. But you can't be like that. Like, you cannot be that person. That person needs you to be up here. So that's just, yeah. Last thing from this book I kind of wanted to read to you is transfer authority to them. So like, when you're empowering leaders, the real heart of empowerment is the transfer of your authority and influence to the people you are mentoring and developing. Many people are willing to give others responsibility. They gladly delegate tasks to them, but empowering others is more than sharing your workload. It's sharing your power and ability to get things done. People become strong and effective only when they are given the opportunity to make decisions, initiate action, solve problems, and meet challenges. When you empower others, you're helping them develop the ability to work independently without your authority. So, I mean, you guys, that's like a no-brainer. You can't just like, expect your leaders to just, do what you're not like willing to do. Like, you have to, show them by leading, and then also giving them that time to step up and do it for their own selves and their own teams, and just letting people fly. Like, that's something that was really hard for me when I had my first leader, like, get her own team page. Like, I had to let her fly. And like, that's, part of leadership that we don't always talk about is, that's kind of, it's challenging sometimes. You're like, man, like, it's great that she's there and she's flying and she's doing her thing, but you have to kind of like, revert to that and just like understand that that's a part of the process. And so Sometimes you're going to have people that want to do their own thing. They're going to have their own team page. They're going to have their own team chats. You're not going to be included, but that's like such a beautiful blessing. Like that's what you're asking for. Like, that you've helped them become that leader that's able to fly on their own. And don't look at it as like, oh, she doesn't need me anymore. Or, oh, I'm not going to be a part of anything. But like, to me, like that's the whole point of this business, is developing leaders that can fly on their own. Like that is the whole point of what we're doing, is building people up, helping them get their wings. And then once they fly, they're flying. So that was just kind of all I really had to go over. I don't even know what time it is. It's almost time to.
I love that. It's so good. I do want to reiterate a point that you said of that quote is so good, because it says, if you don't have that inspired enthusiasm, whatever you do have is contagious. And so I really want you guys to reflect on, what do you have? What do you have? Like, really ask yourself that question. Like, do you have that inspired enthusiasm? And the people that have the inspired enthusiasm, even if you're not on their team, it. Kayla Hagman has inspired enthusiasm right now. Straight up, like this chick's on another level. Like, who has inspired enthusiasm, okay? Like, you can feel it, and if other people can't feel it and they can't say she has inspired enthusiasm, then you don't have it, okay? I also was listening to this thing today, and it was so good, because he was just giving these tips, and he's like, well, is your brain telling you, oh, I already know that? Oh, I already know that. Oh, I already know that. And I do that all the time, you guys, because I know a lot. Like, I feel like I know a lot. Like, I've heard so many things, right? And he said, well, if you live it, you know it. If you don't live it, you've just heard about it. And I was like, dang, that is so true. And so I want you guys to think about, what have you heard about that you aren't living? What have you heard about that but you're not actually implementing into your life, right? And we can, and I'm so guilty of this, you guys. Like, I do so much self-development, and there's like probably 20% of the stuff that I've implemented, right? And I'm not saying you have to implement it all at once, but I feel like, why are you like, and that's why I ask myself, why are you not living this? Like, if you know this stuff, why are you not living this? And he said something else today too. It was so good. And then I'll stop. But he said something else where he said, so many of us feel like our brains are who we are. But we have to remember that, like, we are in complete control of our minds. And you have to think of your brain, it's like your hand. Like, it's not who you are, it's a part of who you are. And you can control it. You can make your hand do whatever the heck you want it to. Why don't we think about our brains that way? Why don't we think like, okay, I'm going to get out of this negative talk. I'm going to get out of this thing. Like, because we feel like we're victims to our thoughts. We feel like we're victims to what happens in there, and we're not. Like, we're not at all. And we have to learn like how to take control of that and recognize like, okay, thanks for the input. Like, because our brains are so focused on just helping us survive, that change to our brain is not good, because it starts freaking out, because it's like, oh, this is different. Now I have to figure out this whole way how to help myself survive. But like, whenever, you have that negative thought into your brain, or even if you have a leader stepping up and it starts to make you feel self-conscious, or you're like, oh my God, like, am I good enough? Or you have 70,000 in volume to get, and you start thinking, holy crap, can I do this? Or this can't be done. You just say, thanks for the input, and move on. It's an opinion. Okay. So just like we think about outside opinions, we have to realize that, like, how many times have you thought something like in the split second, and you really sit there and think like, I don't really feel that way. Right? Like, I do that all the time. Like, I'll get so pissed, and like my brain will say something, and then I sit there and I think about it. I'm like, I don't really feel that way. Like, why would I ever say that or think that? Or like, like even stuff like, just like when I get annoyed or I get frustrated and my feelings get the best of me, right? And I just think something, then I sit there and I think like, why am I such a bitch? Why did I think that? Or why did I, but it's not true. It's just an opinion. It's part of the brain because of something that's happened in your life, and it's there. but don't give it any thought. Don't give it any space. And so that was like one thing that I heard today doing my self-development that I wanted to share. Sorry, my husband is like screaming in the background. I have no idea what's going on. But just, if you live it, write this down. If you live it, then you know it. If you live it, then you know it. If you don't live it, you don't know it. You've just heard about it. He's talking about Tiger, in case you guys are wondering.
Dude, I was so pumped for her, Tiger. Oh my gosh, that was wild.
Friend legitimately cried.
I saw.
Okay, I'm gonna repeat it one more time, and then we'll hop off and go to the other one. If you live it, then you know it. If you don't live it, then you don't know it. You've just heard about it. Okay. Thank you, Tay. That was so amazing. I'm so thankful for you and your leadership. I learned a lot. I'm excited. Okay, I'll see you guys on the other Signing DT Zoom. Love you.